Tuesday. Jake's here. Hello.
Yeah, Jake's subbing in today. Some of the younger hosts on the drive had some studious classwork to do at this time because we love Journalism 210. Going to the city council meetings and sitting there for no reason.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's fun. So we're missing Alec today for that reason.
That reminds me, when I was in that class, JP was teaching when I was in that class, and we went to the city council meeting.
Oh, because you were in broadcast.
And yeah.
I had Mira for print.
Right. So we went with JP, and it was, so this was 2 years ago. Yeah, because we're seniors, so that would have been 2 years ago. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So my timeline's just all messed up. But I just remember, so 2 years ago it would have been wild card time. At this time, like right now it's Division Series. It would have been wild card around this time. So I remember it was Yankees Twins when the Twins blew a 3-0 lead, and I was watching it in that city council meeting because it was infinitely more exciting than a Champaign city council meeting.
Yeah, when I went, so we had to go twice. We had to go once.
Oh, that's tough.
We had to go once just to sit in and get a feel for it, and then we had to go in again to do our actual project. So the first time we did it, it was Isaac Trotter and I. And it was NBA regular season opener, and we were watching the Cleveland Cavaliers versus Boston Celtics, and it was the exact play that Gordon Hayward snapped his leg in half.
Oh,
we gave out a huge gasp in the middle of the city council meeting, and we got stared down the entire time. Classic. But yeah, that's not really any fun. But yeah, we got Jake subbing in, and we have Gabby as our producer. How we doing today, Gabby?
Pretty good. Tired.
Oh.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are a dumpster fire.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm tired.
Mason Rudolph
I stay up at night thinking about how bad my team is, and it's just sad. Mason Rudolph, I don't know how he got up. Watching that was so scary. When they zoom in on the replay, he literally went unconscious in the middle of the air.
That's the closest I've ever seen to a dead body on the football field.
You always know it's bad when their arms are still sticking out.
Yeah,
as they're
he was
falling, and then the fingers pointing still. Yeah,
he was literally like this, and I was like, and then you see Juju fall to the ground, and then I think the saddest part, obviously, it was sad that he got murdered, but but then you see Ryan Shazier on the sideline pacing in his face, and I feel like he probably just flashed back, and that's so scary. I mean, obviously. Ryan Shazier's walking and everything now, which is great, but he's never gonna play on the football field ever again, which is really sad. But I think that was the hardest part, was watching him just watch Mason Rudolph
football, man.
Football.
Football, man. Football and hockey, man. So we got.
Where did hockey come from?
Well, I mean, another pretty violent
soccer.
sport. Okay,
soccer is an underrated.
There was a hockey player who took a skate to the face last week.
Oh, there's
some guy on the Maple Leafs or something.
There's been goaltenders having their necks slit open because of.
Oh, this was recently though.
Oh, recently.
This was last week.
Oh, that's tough.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was wild.
You hate to see that.
It was Is
he okay?
Great. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, he's a hockey player.
It was an inch from his eye. It was he was super close to losing an eye.
Yeah. So
great talk.
This
is great.
Love talking about very positive things. Jake's here. But I don't think we're going to get much more positive the more we go into this show, because we're going to start talking a little bit more Illini football and some of the things that happened at yesterday's game week press conference. So every Monday there's a head coach Lovie Smith, offensive coordinator Rod Smith, and usually about 3 to 4 players are available to the media, and they host a press conference. And, I mean, this was now the third week in a row now that Lovie Smith has opened his press conference with the word disappointing, which it's starting to become kind of a routine thing for him to say. But he was asked a couple questions about just how opponents are playing the Illini offense, and Lovie gave an interesting answer, saying that he doesn't believe offenses and defenses in college really change all that much, that they pretty much are showing you the same thing, maybe a little tweak here and there, but basically they're showing you the same thing always. Which, interesting answer. And then he was asked about why some of the big plays were being given up against this Illinois defense the last 3 weeks.
Against everyone.
Yeah, against everyone. I guess I'm putting it generous when I say these last. I mean, Akron doesn't really count, but UConn, they had some big plays.
Yeah.
And then he's
one good week.
Yeah. and he said a lot of those are just due to missed tackles. Guys are in the right position, they keep the player in front of them, they keep it to a minimum game, and then they miss a tackle. So that's fine. Those are normal Lovie Smith answers really on a Monday.
Okay, we'll take it.
And then you go and you talk to the players, and usually the players are very in sync with what their coach is saying, and they basically repeat it. They don't repeat it, but they say a form of that. But when running back Reggie Corbin was asked about how defenses are playing the Illinois offense, he gave a different answer a little bit from incredibly different answer. I couldn't even.
I think different is putting
answer.
I couldn't even sugarcoat it. He said that defenses are showing them something completely different than what they see on film, and that
he said defenses are changing for what Illinois specifically is doing.
Exactly, right? And he said how you will never see that type of defense played by that team the rest of the year. So that's not great when your head coach is saying nothing's changing. It's just us not executing, and then your running back says everything is changing when we're playing against the team, and we're not adjusting quick enough to it.
Not just your running back, your star player, your
face of the team.
Your face of the team, yeah.
Reggie Corbin.
Yeah. A guy who was at media day, who has been like this guy that you've been promoting. The way I heard it though was, I mean, because Fisher, that's what you said is like that these defenses are adapting and like are changing. The way I heard it was that defenses are adapting specifically for Illinois.
Yeah.
Saying that these defenses know exactly what Illinois is going to run, which is run
Reggie Corbin.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that they're adapting for that, and then the next week against a new opponent, they go right back to what they were doing before. So pretty much what he said is Illinois is predictable and defenses know it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's just almost, not almost, that's
sad.
Upsetting.
It's sad.
It's upsetting to hear as a reporter, as a fan, whatever you want to call it, to first know that your star player and your head coach are not on the same page. So then who's lying? Someone's lying then, or someone's not understanding what's going on, which neither are good. Your head coach or your star player not understanding what's happening on the field, or one of them trying to sugarcoat. I don't want to necessarily say lying, I guess, but sugarcoating the truth. I mean, neither of those options are good, and I think that's highlights exactly what's going on in the football program right now here. Your players, your coaches, the staff not being on the same page. And if you want to talk about what Jake Hasan said next, I think that's an even bigger problem.
Yeah,
I think what you have is actually, and sorry, Fisher, but what you have is Lovey's usually very like
tight-lipped.
Yes, and kind of beats around the bush, and whereas Reggie Corbin's very direct, and he'll tell you exactly what he means.
He looked fed up, though, in the video.
Yeah.
He looked
to be fair, Reggie Corbin always looks a little fed up.
He does a little.
I think it's just his face. But
being tight-lipped is different than saying the complete opposite thing of what he's saying.
Yeah, and then so I could see Lovie Smith being a little maybe tight-lipped about a topic like that because he doesn't want other defenses to know stuff like that, sure. But the next part that I actually kind of found a little concerning was...
You're saying you didn't find the first part concerning?
Okay.
More concerning.
Of course, the first part. This is more concerning. Both are not good and shows a little bit of instability within your program. Is that when I asked Jake Hasan yesterday about the big plays being let up, just like I asked Lovie Smith about that too. Jake partially agreed with Lovie about the missed tackles. And then he said the other part was just guys not knowing what they're doing, which is very, very concerning for a defense that's filled with upperclassmen or guys that have already had a good amount of experience under their belt, and they're still busting coverages. And so what Hasan said was, we're having busting coverages, which then results to us, or which basically means that we're not prepared. And if you're not prepared, you were coming off a bye week. How are you not prepared for this game?
You had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, Lovie talked about just how that bye week was going to let them regroup and become prepared for a Minnesota team who everybody knew was going to come out and put up a really good fight, which, 40-17 fight? Yeah, it's a pretty good fight. But for him to...
Is it a fight?
Did we fight? That's it. Where was our fight? But for him to say all those things, we're getting prepared, we're getting everyone healthy, and then to come out and have one of your best defensive players say that some players were not prepared. It's there's no words for how upsetting that is for this program right now.
Yeah,
we might have the first tears on a line and let Gabby keep talking right now.
I'll pull it together, but I mean, not everyone, but there were expectations for a bowl game. I think not a good bowl game, but a bowl game.
There was
those are out
There's
the door.
expectations for 6-6 just to get a bowl game.
Yeah,
agreed. There was expectations for at least 5 and 7.
I don't see 5 and. That was my expectation. Was 5 and 7, and
the expectation is 3 and 9 right now.
Yeah,
I think. Right?
I think so. Yeah, because I mean, if you don't beat Rutgers, you shut the whole operation down.
If you don't beat Rutgers,
but
everything's out the door.
You disband the program.
Now you could say players not being prepared. That could be on the players, sure. Because at the end of the day, the players are the ones that have to go out there and execute. So they need to be prepared. But it is your coaching staff and your head coach's job to make sure these players are prepared. There's no excuses for that. And as a head coach, you either have to hold your players liable in that sense or
accountable.
Yep.
That too.
Yep, you got me. You either have to hold them accountable in that sense, or I just don't understand how they're not prepared. And that's the head coach's job to make sure that the players are prepared, especially coming off a bye week. Being unprepared for a game against Minnesota, a game that had that's supposed to revert the season back on track after you lose a horrible loss to Eastern Michigan, and you lost a game against Nebraska under the lights, a game that Nebraska did everything in their power to try and hand to you, and you still couldn't win that game. And then you show up after the bye week to Minnesota unprepared, and then the next week you're having players say that they're unprepared. And at the end of the day, the person's job to make sure that player is prepared is Lovie Smith, and they weren't, and it has to fall back on him. And so, the fact that I think now that players are starting to be a little bit more loose with the way they're talking to the media now, in the sense where Reggie Corbin is giving a varied answer to what Lovie Smith said, a very, very different answer to what Lovie Smith said, and then Jake Hasan's calling out how prepared the team was. That's very concerning right now because I've never seen that before. I've never seen the players be this off kilter with what the coaching staff is saying.
I think so. There's 2 points that I want to address in what you just said. The preparedness thing, like you talk about the preparation, the coaches. Like not only are they supposed to be prepared and like at least be competitive, but you're definitely not supposed to get worse week in and week out. And you started, and I said this yesterday, you started with Akron, good game. Everybody looked good, kept it pretty tight, a couple things you could have worked on, but overall we all felt pretty good about that.
48-3.
You go to UConn, okay, a couple things kind of fall apart.
Road game, though.
But road game
and
at
you
UConn,
fight back.
You fight back and you get a win. Still feel really good. Then Eastern Michigan, a game you should have won, and then you choke and you collapse when you had the chance to win it. Can't do anything. Okay, fine. Nebraska, you know you're going to be tough, but then again, they try and hand it to you and you lose. Okay, bye. All right, not exactly where you wanted to be. You're 2-2, could have been 3-1, could have been 4-0, but you're not. So let's clean it up, work on some things. Minnesota,
bye week.
Very beatable. Bye week, and you come out and you get even worse.
You get slapped by a Minnesota team that's sorry, Gabe. You get slapped around by a Minnesota team that you slapped around last year, and that Minnesota.
You know you can beat.
Yeah, Minnesota is the team that Illinois is supposed to look at and say, like, hey, we're on par with these guys right now when we just slapped them around last year. So that means we should be a higher tier than them at this moment. And then they just hand it to you in embarrassing fashion. Your offense doesn't score any touchdowns.
Right.
That's the bad thing about this game, too. You lost against Minnesota when you scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
Which
the defense
you should win.
The defense wasn't even that good during this game. I mean,
no, it was bad.
Minnesota,
there were 2 bright spots.
Before Illinois, Minnesota, I was looking at it last week, averaged about 115 rushing yards per game. 115. They doubled that against Illinois. Yeah. But the defense still led the scoring.
Right. It's crazy. Well, then my second point was going to be Eric's point about the defense, or not the defense, the players seeming to speak more freely and say the opposite things. You know, year one, this organization, this program was very much like how Lovie Smith was. Tight-lipped, didn't really tell you a whole lot when you talked to him. Then
they believe.
But exactly, and things still pretty much stayed the same the last 3 years that we've been here, Eric and Gabby, for your 2 years that I mean, this is your third year.
I forget we've been on this ride, and just like Lovie Smith
but
has.
now I feel like you're starting to see the progression of like where we're at, where the media and the fans are starting to get fed up with the coaching staff. It's going to be really bad if that's the same thing for the players who are starting to lose faith and stop listening to their coach and start being like, all right, you know what? We're going to say what's on our mind. We're going to speak freely when the previous 3 years have been, we're going to keep it tight. We're going to, keep everything in-house, most things in-house. That says, like, there's a lack of respect bubbling up, and that's not great because then you're just going to keep going down and down and down, and that's how you lose to Rutgers.
And then that's also how – and then Josh Whitman has to have, like, an ear in on all of this. And that's what's kind of caused some Josh Whitman rumors to be circling around lately in the news about Luke Fickell in Cincinnati. There's been some rumors stirring up about those a connection possibly between those two. And the fact that there are rumors going around right now shows where this program's at this point in time. It shows that Josh Whitman is ready to pull the plug on the Lovie Smith tenure if the season keeps going the way it is, as he probably should. And so,
yeah, I mean, it's fair questions to ask at this point.
Yeah. So stability in the program, it's not there at the moment. I mean, players are off kilter. Head coaching. I mean, it's just you don't know what you have in year 4 of Lovie Smith, and that's terrible for where this program is supposed to be.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, I think the most disappointing thing is the amount of hope and amount of confidence you came in with this team this year. I mean, you have so many upperclassmen that have been in Lovie's system the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And you have these high expectations. Okay, we're in Lovie's 4th year. Like, we're going to a bowl game. We're at least getting to 5 wins, at least a couple Big Ten wins, which you haven't had before. And for them to come out, and especially, after that Eastern Michigan game, you're like, okay. But you're not completely, like, lost by the pro. You're not completely turned off by them.
You still had Nebraska.
Have the hope. And then you fumble the bag in Nebraska. Literally, when Nebraska's fumbling time and time again, and you still lose. They handed you the game. And then you don't even compete against Minnesota. I mean, like, where was the fight? I mean, I get it. Brandon Peters went down. And Matt Robinson didn't play. I thought he played okay.
Strong agree.
Yeah.
But wide receivers, Ricky Smalling, dropping pass after pass, not helping your backup quarterback, whatever you want to say, third. I mean, I would say Matt's your backup quarterback.
Yeah, probably.
Not helping your backup quarterback when he's playing to the best of his ability, I would say, and you don't have the offense to help him out. That's just sad, and that's just disappointing that's where we're at right now, that your backup quarterback's playing well, but your offensive weapons, like Ricky Smalling, can't help him out. It's just I feel like it's hard to figure out where you're at with this program right now. You expected so much more success, and Lovie Smith hammered it in every preseason press conference or every, in training camp. We're a better team. We are a better team. We have made progress. There's been regression, I think, as the season's gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you have that in your 4th year with upperclassmen and great weapons like
they have
Reggie
talent.
Corbin, Jake Hansen, when you have Wale Patiku now, you have all these transfers who made an impact in the first couple games, kind of been shut out. I mean, I don't think Wale did much, if anything.
He didn't register a stat against Minnesota, I believe.
I don't think so.
So where's that progress? You have that bye week. There's supposed to be an even bigger progress, but there was nothing.
Yeah, and there's no excuse. I think the worst part about it, too, is that there's no excuses for the defense. I mean, these are guys that were freshmen. These guys have been playing significant time since their freshman year, a lot of these guys on this defense. And the defense hasn't improved or shown any signs of improvement besides the fact they're turning people over more, which is a good improvement. But when you're still giving up over 400 yards a game consistently, it doesn't matter. And then your offense looks like it's regressing when you don't have a dynamic running quarterback or a guy that could move on his feet. Brandon Peters hasn't been able to show that to even close to the levels that A.J. Bush has, of course. And it looks like the offense is taking a big hit as a result of that. And so that's why you kind of saw a lot more, and Rod mentioned it on Monday too, you saw a lot more read option plays when Matt Robinson came into the game, and then you saw the offense starting to move down the field a little bit more. I'm not saying Matt Robinson should be the starting quarterback or anything, but you saw the offense start to show show images of what it was last season under A.J. Bush with a running quarterback that could just add another dynamic to the running game. And so, I mean,
the only problem with that was A.J. Bush couldn't throw.
Exactly.
You had the opposite problem.
Exactly, which is why like you're putting so much hope. I mean, the coaching staff and the Illini fans are putting so much hope on Isaiah Williams that he could develop an arm.
Do you think that Robinson starts this week against Michigan?
If Peters is healthy?
Both.
I don't.
Or. So let's say if Peters is hurt, obviously you start Robinson.
Yeah.
But if he's healthy, because I agree with Gabby. I think Robinson looked, considering the conditions, which were rain, a lot of it, and the drops, and that it was a pretty much lost game by the time he came in because there was just no fight. Yeah. I think Robinson showed a lot, enough that you either start him outright or you have Peters on a short leash. Because like you said, he is a better athlete. He adds a little bit more of the running dimension. And it just looked like he had more chemistry, better chemistry, making better reads.
Robinson's only issue is that he's wildly inconsistent. He showed it all the time during training camp how he can make a really nice throw down the field one play and then just make a boneheaded interception. I think Michael Marquez looked like a star in training camp because he just stood in the middle of the field and just waited for Matt Robinson to throw him the ball. Michael Marquez is a walk-on safety, by the way. And so Peters will start if he's healthy. The fact if he wasn't going to, then you would see everything kind of hit the fan a little bit in terms of the media and fans and stuff like that, especially if Isaiah was healthy too.
I think it's almost interesting to see what would happen if Peters didn't play at all. Like, if Williams is healthy, do you play both him and Robinson? Do you kind of switch that back and forth? Do you play both?
No, I don't want to see any more Isaiah Williams in the Wildcat. Get rid of it. It doesn't work.
That was 2 times.
It was 2 times, but
I mean, you do a Wildcat. Okay, guess what? It's gonna be a run.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I have a hard time believing Isaiah Williams would start, but I just can't see if Peters is semi-healthy. I can't see him wanting to sit this game. I mean, it's Michigan. It's his former team. I can't see him as a competitor, as an athlete at the Division I level. If you're healthy enough to be on that field in this situation with Michigan, he's going to be on that field, in my opinion. And I have a hard time believing he's not going to start. But I think the season, I don't see much hope for the season right now. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how you deal with your backup quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean, if Peters is healthy, then he's going to play. I mean, he's going to start. Just can't. He's still your best quarterback, your most consistent quarterback. So if he's healthy, he'll get the start. And I honestly, if you're done with Peters, I don't want to see Matt Robinson. I want to see Isaiah Williams, because if you're done with Peters and Peters is more times than not your best opportunity, gives you your best chance to win, then and you're not playing him, then there's no reason Matt Robinson should be in, and it should be Isaiah Williams, the guy you're trying to groom. The guy that the head coach has mentioned on several times is the future of this program. Mm-hmm. You got to get him in there and get some reps if you've given up on the season. But
don't let him throw them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't bring him in for only Wildcat situations. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
It doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work because obviously defenses know what you're about to do. They know read options coming. The end knows that he has to crash hard on the edge. Linebackers know they have to clean up on the quarterback. It's just too predictable what's going to happen, and so I don't want to see. But the thing is, if they give up on the season though and play Isaiah, then Lovey's job's done. Because I mean, if you just give up on the year when your aspirations were to win as much as you can and win a bowl game, I mean, what does that look like to the donors who are paying so much money and who have to be fuming in Josh Whitman's ear right now to can Lovey Smith? So
I mean, I think this is a conversation for later because we have to go to break soon. But you think about all the high-rated commits. Well, not all, but there's been a good amount in the past 2 years that, and some that are going to come next year. You know, you have Isaiah Williams now, Marquise Beeson now, who will hopefully be healthy for next year, and then you have a couple. You have a couple high 3-star, 4-star commits coming for next year. I mean, if Lovey loses his job, who actually stays? And I think that's obviously a conversation for if it actually happens. But, I mean, does Isaiah Williams even stay if Levy's gone? Does Marquise Beeson even stay? That's a whole nother conversation, which is hopefully far off.
Scary.
And it's very scary because your freshmen and your incoming freshmen next year are probably the future of this program.
Yeah.
So if you lose that,
you can't afford another rebuild.
No, what?
I think there's too much talent on the roster now to go into full rebuild mode.
Yeah.
But that takes us to our first break. When we come back,
that was fun.
Yeah, right. We only great things to say. But when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into the Bears as they're heading into the bye week and what exactly happened in London and what needs to change for that team going forward. Man, just all positive football talk about Illinois football
teams. That's why
teams.
we'll do volleyball.
Exactly. We're going to bring a little volleyball into it too. But
volleyball.
We're going to head to break now, and we got more football and volleyball coming back to you. And welcome back to Illini Drive. You got myself, Erich Fisher. Jake Hasan's filling in for one of our hosts, Alec Busey, who is sadly away on being studious. And then we got Gabby as our producer. And just want to say this episode of Illini Drive is brought to you by the University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics, fightingillini.com, unify, develop, inspire, achieve. Kind of hard. Those four things are looking
is hard.
Looking a little groomed for Illini football at the moment. But Illinois volleyball, something that's always usually brings up positive things for
best team on campus.
Yeah, best team on campus. It's not really that close, I would say. We'll see it.
Men's golf.
Okay, golf. Yeah, golf, and then
God, Fisher,
gosh,
give some credit. Women's golf.
I'm sorry. We just got done talking about football for the last.
This is why the people call on Jake Hasan for 3 straight days because Fisher.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
You know what, Gabby? I don't appreciate your tone.
Wow.
Okay, well, I'm going to be here 3 straight days, too, because I'm filling in for Alex tomorrow.
Is this because I called your team a dumpster fire?
Wow.
No, because it's true.
Okay.
It's not why I'm offended.
But volleyball is one of the more positive teams on campus, and they're starting to pick things up, getting a little better. And Gabby is one of our correspondents, if we want to use that word, but she covers it. Correspondence, you like the correspondence terms, but Gabby, this Illinois volleyball team, they look like they're starting to pick. Starting to get more into a groove and something like that. Just where do you think
something like that?
Okay, I'll take it away from here.
You got Minnesota coming in. Good call.
Okay, so just a quick shout out. I cover Illinois volleyball for the Daily Illini. So if you want to read my stories, I like to say they're pretty good. So check those out. But anyways, I've been following this team all semester so far, and watching them in the Final Four or just in the NCAA tournament in general last season, you definitely have high expectations in it. You lost Jordan Poulter, you lost Ali Bastianelli, but you still have high expectations for this team. And I think they started off non-conference pretty rocky, which was a big surprise, especially in non-conference. But they've picked it up, and, that's something that Chris Thomas and all the girls said when they were losing, that, this wasn't going to be a whole season thing. They just haven't meshed together yet. They have such a young team, and they were going to need time to, pull it together. And I'd say they've done that pretty far. They just finished a weekend in Indiana. They swept Indiana and then beat Purdue. It says number 17 Purdue, but I'm pretty sure we're number 17 now. So
it was probably at the time.
Yeah, so we must have pulled ahead of them real quick, but we beat them 3-1 on Sunday, and both really strong wins. We've seen from this volleyball team a little shaky in the first set sometimes, which they kind of talked about that with Purdue. Just, they weren't settled in yet, and, they have the scouting reports in practice. They go through the film, but, sometimes kind of like we talked about with football, they change things, and the other team changes things, changes their defense, changes their offensive scheme against Illinois because they are such a dynamic team. So once they figure that out, just changing, and then they had to adapt. It was pretty smooth sailing. Ashlyn Fleming had another monster weekend. Diana Brown settling in at setter. I think, she really learned a lot behind Jordan Poulter last year. Diana Brown redshirted her freshman season last year, and now she's the starting setter. But then you also had Micah Allison come in, who's also a setter, transferred from Auburn. She's a sophomore. And that was, a big setter competition in preseason and even into the non-conference season. But it looks like Diana Brown's the go-to setter, but they've been able to fit Micah Allison in as an opposite hitter sometimes. And I think that's been really interesting. And Coach Thomas I talked about that with him a little the other night. Him just saying, Allison has experience hitting, playing outside, playing opposite. And they've been able to kind of groom her into their system through the last couple of weeks. And now they feel confident putting her in those positions. So I think it's really interesting to see two setters on the court at the same time. But obviously Allison playing the more hitting role. But then you have Brown, who's been outstanding, taking the offense into her own hands. She's had a handful of kills the last couple matches. So I think that, just been some high points for the team lately. And then they take on number 6, Minnesota, tomorrow at home in Huff Hall, 8 o'clock. So a late game, back in Huff Hall Wednesday night. I mean, I know it's late, but you're still going to have a big crowd at Huff Hall regardless. I think that's always the positive.
Always turns out, yeah.
Everyone always shows up to Huff Hall because they are one of the only winning teams on the Illinois campus.
Just the atmosphere, too, at Huff Hall when it's packed like that. I covered the opening rounds of volleyball here, and it was my favorite sporting event to be at that fall, just because, football obviously did not provide much of an atmosphere, and then the atmosphere that volleyball did provide was just electric by itself. Place was sold out, fans turned out. Huff Hall was just one of the better sporting atmospheres I'd ever attended, and I fully expect that to be like that against Minnesota too. Just what would a win against number 6 Minnesota mean for this team going forward, Gabby?
Well, I think it obviously would definitely push them up in the rankings, but I don't think that's something that the team's really focused on. But I think that would just give them that extra boost of confidence because about a week ago they took Nebraska, who was, I think, number 1 or number 2 at the time, to 5 sets at Huff. And, that's a rematch that, Nebraska knocked them out in the Final Four last year. So that was a big rematch, and they didn't come out with the win. And they said, they were a little disappointed because they left a lot of points on the court. But you take number 1 in the country to 5 sets. That's impressive. So, you're coming into your home court playing number 6. They're number 6 for a reason, and they're good. But I think Illinois has a lot of potential to come out with this match. And I think that just is going to push their confidence even higher. It was a little low to begin the season, losing those non-conference matches. But I think it's been building, and the team has been meshing really well. And I think just getting a top 10 win would, push that confidence even higher. And just then when you face higher teams later on the season, Penn State is amazing. Wisconsin is amazing.
This next stretch for volleyball is, really tough because they have Minnesota, who's 6 right now, then Indiana. But then you have Wisconsin after that, who is currently 7.
And
then
Wisconsin
you have Minnesota
just
again,
swept
and then Penn
Nebraska.
State. Right. And then Penn State, who's 8. So you have 4 out of your next 5 out of your next 6 coming against top 10 teams.
Welcome to Big Ten volleyball.
Powerhouse.
And Wisconsin and Penn State are both on the road. So those are going to be 2 big challenges. And so I think it's almost like this Minnesota game or Minnesota match is a needed win because you have
schedule gets
tough. And, Big Ten volleyball is always up there in the ranks. But, this team is kind of unpredictable with, the ceiling is so high for this team, and they're not even close to hitting it. They've said it themselves, they're not even close to their peak of the season right now, and I think that's a really good confidence to have, that you're already playing really well as a team, but to know that you can get so much higher, I just think that there's a really good culture and atmosphere around the team right now, and that's, really helping them take these wins.
What do you think the ceiling is for this team, though? When the pieces are all together, is there enough there to make it to the national championship game or win national championship?
The return.
Gives me the chills. I think
because you lost some.
NCAA championship is hard. I think the postseason is just a different atmosphere for every sport, but just the the talent they have and the young talent they have, and but then you still have your veterans like Jackie Quaid, Ashlyn Fleming. Megan Cooney has been outstanding the past couple matches. She actually has switched the right side lately, which has helped her and has helped the team. And, you have those interesting pieces like Micah Allison and Diana Brown, who, you don't always see that on the court. So I think as they continue to grow and as, these players continue to grow in their new positions, because there's a lot of new positioning out on the floor right now, and I think there is great potential to make a tournament run and maybe even get back to the Final Four, and then who knows after that. Obviously, it's just there's such a competitive environment around college volleyball right now at the D1 level, and it's hard to say because we still kind of are early in the season, but I see potential for a tournament run.
Who are just some of the players that you're looking at just to step up, and especially against this Minnesota team, and then just going forward, who are some of the players that you see the potential in? They just haven't hit that potential so far this season, and they need to hit that if this team's going to, come close to making a Final Four run again.
I would say freshman Kennedy Collins. She's a middle blocker, but she also has been playing some opposite. She's had some really good flashes of being a really good player for this team, but she hasn't been the most consistent, and she also hasn't been on the court a lot. She's been kind of thrown in the mix here and there, but I think she could, really step up later in the season as she gets more comfortable. And obviously, Jackie Quaid's already such a role player, but she was a little quiet this weekend. And by quiet, I mean like 10 kills, which is quiet for Jackie Quaid. So I think for her to come out with a massive game against Minnesota and then Wisconsin and Penn State, I think she really needs to fire it up a little bit more. But I think the thing is, you also have great hitters in Ashlyn Fleming and Megan Cooney. So, Jackie isn't getting set as much, which is good because, that helps her arm. But, I think they might ramp it up a little bit more in Minnesota.
So, before we transition to a different topic, just what's your prediction for the Minnesota match?
I'm going to go, I think Illinois is going to win it in 5 sets.
Ooh.
I think it's going to go 5 sets just because Minnesota is such a good team. But I don't know. I feel like Illinois is going to come out and win it at Huff.
All right. You hear it
You
here.
heard it first.
We'll come back to this Thursday, but transitioning over to more bad football being played lately. Bears have a very disappointing performance against the Oakland Raiders in London. Whether you want to attribute to some of that to not being in London soon enough or whatever the excuse is, the Bears just got outmatched physically for the first time, I would say, under the Matt Nagy era, where they just looked like the less physical, less dominant team, and it makes you wonder where this team is at. Is this team one that could put it together and make a deep postseason run, or is this a team that's going to be lucky to sneak into the playoffs? The Raiders game left a lot of questions for me, Jake.
I think there's a lot that goes into this, and I think first things first is you have to consider how many injuries you have to specifically key players. I was going to start with Trubisky first of all, because Chase Daniel, we now have our definitive answer that he is not going to be your guy. He's not your answer.
He played well though. After a rough start, those
interceptions, those were terrible.
Miscommunication on the second.
I could have avoided those interceptions. I couldn't have thrown the ball that far, but I would have avoided it.
Miscommunication on the second pick. I don't know if it was Miller's fault for running bad route or Daniel. Who knows?
Bad.
It was bad.
But then, flipping to the defense, who's supposed to be your number one defense in the league, your top unit. You're missing Akeem Hicks, who is your premier run stopper, your guy in the middle, your anchor.
Eddie Goldman didn't play well without Hicks.
Right. And then
Nick Williams didn't have the same performance yet against Vikings.
You're missing Bilal Nichols still from his broken hand. Last year, when he was a rookie, you saw the contributions he could make and what he'll do. And then Roquan Smith, I don't know what's still going on with him, but he clearly was not on his A game.
Yeah.
So those are 3 guys who are very key to your defense and that your defense's success. And then, the Raiders, credit to them, though, they came out like Josh Jacobs played really well. Derek Carr, I thought, played pretty well, and
they won the line of scrimmage battle.
Right, and it wasn't close.
There was no pressure on the quarterback at all. Right. I don't think there was I think there was maybe one quarterback hit that entire game.
I think so. Khalil Mack didn't have an impact at all, and so. But then the core problem of this Bears team right now, though, is the offensive line, Kyle Long is moving
this
like
is so slept on about this offensive line, how poorly it's been playing.
Kyle Long looks like his legs are made of cement. Like, he can't move at all.
His pass pro is terrible right now.
Right. I mean, he's been bad.
Charles Leno is even worse.
Been great. Yeah, Bobby Massey's getting blown by. So I think what first things first needs to happen is you need to see if Kyle Long is still starter material, which stinks because Kyle Long is great.
Before injuries, he was a monster.
Right. And then I think the second thing you need to look at is it worth it to keep James Daniels at center? Because you drafted him and then you moved him to guard, and then all of a sudden, okay, you're going to move him back to center. After Cody Whitehair had been giving you Pro Bowl, or if not close to it, Pro Bowl caliber play at the center position. So I thought that was a weird move from the start. You just got to make some decisions. And so I think the offensive line is where everything starts. And, you wait for Mitch to come back after this bye.
Yeah, because this Bears team needs to operate in a play-action format where in the pass game where Mitch Trubisky is right now, he's not someone that you could go to throw the ball, hey, throw the ball 40 times a game and win it for us. He's going to have to be a quarterback right now where he operates out of the play-action. And in order to do that, you got to get the running game established. And that's been one of the most disappointing things for me this season with this Bears team, which goes back to the offensive line too and play calling in general. It's just a run game. This Bears team, when they need to draw out the clock late in the fourth quarter, they can't do it with the run game. That's a huge problem, and it makes you go back to, man, I don't know if moving Jordan Howard was the greatest idea. It brings those feelings back, like when you needed to run out the game, Jordan Howard could get you those 4 or 5 yards at every snap.
That goes back to the offensive line.
Exactly.
I think people are now saying, oh, David Montgomery, I don't know anymore. We were real high on him. I still think David Montgomery's a good player.
Oh, I do too.
And I think he's going to be a really key piece
of this offense. I'm just saying, Jordan Howard can make up for has a better chance of making up for the mistakes in the run game than David Montgomery can, because Jordan Howard can just power through. He could just power through for those extra couple yards where
Montgomery doesn't get tackled. I think they're the same. I think it's the same thing. I think just this offensive line stinks right now.
Yeah, that's what it comes back to. The worst part of that Raiders game for me, though, was how you had the Raiders at their own 3-yard line and you let them just power down the field the entire way. Yeah. And when you're supposed to be gloating about a number 1 ranked defense, and your number 1 ranked defense is supposed to stop them when they start their drive on their own 3-yard line.
Right. And that was terrible.
That was
picked
terrible.
You apart on that drive. Yeah. Josh Jacobs is really good, but you shouldn't let that happen and get beat like that. In that manner.
I don't know. Josh Jacobs was apparently slept on coming in. I mean,
was so weird, dude.
That was.
You're a first-round pick out of Alabama. Nobody's been sleeping on you ever.
Exactly right. You were a first-round pick coming out of Alabama. You started right away. That had me scratching my head. But bye week coming up for the Bears.
You need it.
Yeah, it's going to give you a chance to get Mitch Trubisky healthy. Akeem Hicks hopefully healthy. Roquan Smith to handle his personal business.
Yeah, the bye definitely helps him. Well, I think Akeem started this game.
He did, but then he left immediately,
right. So
then returned.
I think the bye week will help him too, because I think if you were comfortable starting him at least in that game, that
he's close. Yeah,
and I think you're probably going to get Mitch back too.
And then
Chase Daniel cannot have a third start.
Yeah, and then you get the Chargers after the bye, right?
It goes. See, I was just looking at this.
Pretty sure it's Chargers after the bye.
It's Saints after the bye.
Saints after the bye.
Saints at home, which is not great.
Boy,
so it goes.
Teddy Bridgewater's looking solid.
Breeze might be back for that too, that's within the 5 week span. Yeah. That's the earliest he could come back, but he still might. So you have the Saints after the bye at home. Then you have the Chargers at home. Then you're at Philadelphia. Then you have the Lions, which is okay.
Lions are good.
But, it's the Lions. The Lions are the Bears' little brother still, until they prove otherwise. But then you have the Rams in L.A. Then you have the Giants, which is fine. And then you have the Lions and Cowboys and Packers and Chiefs and Vikings to close it out.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, so really, I don't feel
There's
great,
no sugarcoating that.
I don't feel great.
It sounds terrible for a team that still has a lot of question marks on what the identity of this team is. You know what you have in the defense. Right. You know you have a Super Bowl caliber defense. But you barely have an NFL offense at this point in time.
It stinks because
it's bottom tier in the league right now.
Right, and it stinks because last year's Bears team was barely hurt at all. They got really lucky, and now this year you're 5 weeks in and already you have this
a couple major injuries,
different things that occurring.
It's just how the game works.
It's better than the Steelers, but
Okay, why do you have to bring me into
Because.
Well, how do you have to bring me down?
Because that's how I make myself feel better, Gabby. Okay? Illinois
okay, well,
lost,
you know
and
what?
then the Bears
you know what?
lost. And then
Actually, I don't feel too bad because at least the Steelers have been good the past couple decades.
I mean,
I said my point.
That's
okay.
Like, I mean, the Bears were pretty good in the mid-2000s. So
how old
really
were you then?
4.
You can't really celebrate those things when
Eric got it.
Okay, I can celebrate.
That's like me cheering about the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different. At least I was alive.
All right. I mean, you're right.
I'm just saying I've been spoiled with some good Steelers play the past several years, so it's just hard to accept that sometimes you're not always going to be that good.
You just have to let Jake have this because you're not.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
not
lashing out because
Fine,
I'm
you
hurting.
can.
I'm going to drop
it.
some wise words of wisdom. You're not.
Wise words of wisdom.
Wise words of wisdom. You're not the hero we deserve, but you're the hero we need.
Me?
And, no, Gabby.
No,
Gabby is.
Okay.
In terms of, we just have to rail on her about the Steelers to make ourselves feel better.
You know what? I'll let it happen. I know.
Wow,
you know, I have
a
my
true hero. You're so kind.
You know,
I do.
I do the work for everyone around here.
Well, we're just gonna go to break off of that comment. We're gonna let that one sink in for a little bit. Maybe we'll retaliate.
Short break. Read the ad.
Short break and then
it's an ad break and then we'll just keep going.
Ad break and then we'll keep going. I gotta find it here real quick.
Oh my, Eric.
Listen, I don't host this show. All right.
You should be. That is actually.
I'm just a guy that sits in the corner and says
we'll go to break and read the ad when we come back.
That is the only thing that they brought you in here for.
I don't think so. I think it just wanted me to talk about some things every once in a while.
You should be hosting.
Okay. Okay,
sure.
We'll be back with the ad.
We'll go. And welcome back to Illini Drive. And Illini Drive, we're just going to do this solid ad read here. We got a big...
Starting strong. Hot start to Erich Fisher's ad read.
Erich Fisher's second ever ad read. This fall, WPGU needs your help to choose the best 107 alternative songs of all time. It's the WPGU 107.1 Ultimate Song Battle. Is it going to be a Wonderwall for Oasis, Numb by Linkin Park, High Hopes by Panic, At the Disco? You get to choose. Go to WPGU.com and vote now until Friday, October 12th. I'll say it one more time, Friday, October 12th. Then tune in to Flashback from noon to 1 after the vote closes and all through November to hear the songs you voted for. You specifically voted for them, no one else. Oh, remember that. It's for the... It's a WPGU Ultimate Song Battle only on WPGU 107.1 exclamation point. So
I thought you nailed that.
Oh, honestly,
such good energy.
I think you crushed that.
I was making up for all the awkwardness of when we came back from break of trying to read.
Awkward at all.
Oh well, there we go. There we go. So we're gonna close today's Illini Drive talking a little playoff baseball here. Rays were up 3-0 the last time we talked about it.
Yeah, top of the second right now, game 4 of the ALDS. Houston Astros, Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field. It's finally full for the first time probably all season. And please get the Rays out of Tampa Bay because that's a terrible market. Anyway,
side story.
They're up 3-0 right now, and Justin Verlander started this game for Houston. The second time he has started on short rest. He started on just 3 days rest, and it showed because I'm pretty sure he got yanked. I didn't see it actually happen, but we'll check that out in the bottom half of the inning. But the Rays, I'm telling you, man. I've been saying it all year. If you've been listening to the show, you know I've been on the Rays train forever, and it's great, and I'm so glad because they're such a weird team, and it's amazing. And I hope they beat the Astros, and then I hope they beat the Yankees, and then I hope they go to the World Series because that'd be incredible.
And then they win, right?
Depends on who's playing in the NL, but which I'll get to. But last night, then the Twins got finished their series against the Yankees. They got swept, so the misery in Minnesota continues. They haven't won a championship in Minnesota in any of the 4 major sports since 1991.
Ew.
Yeah, that's brutal. And so that's really sad. And the Twins currently have an active now 13-game losing streak to the Yankees and getting swept by the Yankees out of the playoffs. Also really sad. But the Yankees are looking really good. I mean, when you have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres and
should be looking really good.
Should be okay. And so the Yankees await whoever wins this Astros-Rays series. If the Astros come back and win tonight, it'll be Astros-Yankees. But the Rays have a chance to force a Game 5, a winner-take-all, which would happen on Thursday. Then tomorrow you have 2 Game 5s as far as Washington versus L.A., you will have Walker Buehler and Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg, who absolutely carved up the Dodgers in his first start. And then you have the Cardinals and Braves Game 5 as well, Jack Flaherty and Mike Fulnetovich. That one's scary because I'm a Cardinals fan. If you listened to the show yesterday, you heard me live react to the Cardinals winning and forcing that Game 5. I'm not going to make predictions because I hate doing predictions, and I'm just going to watch it because I love all the games. But I love this time of year. It's so great. It's so great. They're all so good, and I hope the Rays win.
I can't wait to I can't wait to talk to Alex about this when he hops back on the show, because he gave a hot take way back before the postseason started. It was right when the Cubs had just hit rock bottom. He said he said that the Braves were going to sweep the Cardinals. Right to Alex's face. They put a bet on it. Who's going to do the video editing for this this upcoming Michigan game, and so will be interesting to pick Alex's brain about that.
It's tough.
You feel a little disrespected by the sweet prediction from Alex about Braves Cardinals?
No, because I mean I wasn't even fully on the Cardinals train until the whole year. I kept having to tell Isaac Trotter, don't buy into this team because they will break your heart. And I just kept saying it. And then I finally bought in after the Cardinals swept the Cubs to, pretty much knock the Cubs out and seal the Cardinals' playoff entry. So it's just, I don't feel disrespected because the Cardinals have been so bad for the last 3-4 years. And so that's completely fine. And they showed up and the Cubs didn't. So.
But now you get to get really excited and then anxiety and then excited and then anxiety again.
Tomorrow's Cardinals game is at 4:00. So this show will be happening probably around the end of the Cardinals game, which we'll see how I feel at that time.
Yeah, folks will have to tune in for that. They want live reactions of what it's like for Jake Hasan.
Either my elation or just my complete misery.
Yeah, they either see Jake Hasan just jumping up and down, which you can't see because this is radio, of course.
No, we'll be on camera tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, we'll have it on camera. Go to YouTube, check that out. Or you can see Jake crying on camera, too. It's one of the...
As 3 Cubs fans, and Gabby will be here, so never mind. As Brendan and Nathan just berate me the entire time. And Gabby probably will for
just
fun.
Ruthless berate.
I'll just throw it in.
Fine.
My team is horrible, so...
At least you got to throw it back in there. You probably had to deal with it all season of them, berating you about the Cardinals when they were going down, and then now you have your moment.
Came through on the other side. Jack Flaherty.
Wait, Jake, are the Cardinals your team?
Yeah.
Oh, you like the Cardinals?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't. Oh.
Fisher.
Okay, well, I didn't know that was your team.
No, Fisher knew that, but that's why he was.
Well, I know
you were being serious.
I don't know his team.
Yeah.
Does she follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, I usually just scroll past his tweets.
That's fair.
Oh,
you should just do the soft block, mute me. It's fine. I won't be offended.
No, someone. Okay, that was about to be really rude.
And we should send it there, Gabby.
I was just saying.
Gabby's gonna say some
A lot of them
mean
are really
things.
funny, but some came out
I have some duds.
quicker.
I have some duds.
Some I'm just not that interested in. But you should follow Jake on Twitter. He has some pretty funny tweets. Okay, or not.
I miss Jakey
I was
Bad
trying to
tweets.
help
I
you.
never
I was
try to
trying to be
advocate
nice.
for myself because you'll just be
I
disappointed.
miss
Whatever.
Jakey Bad Tweets
Okay.
Twitter account, but we won't go to that. Recap.
If you know, you know.
To recap today's show, we talked Illinois football and some of the things that are going on within that program and what happened in yesterday's press conference.
We talked about sadness, pain, volleyball, and baseball.
Pain, volleyball, emotions, positive things from volleyball, more sadness about talking Bears. And then we talked about Jake's Twitter accounts and baseball at the end. I'm Erich Fisher. Thanks, Jake, for filling in for from our missing soldiers today. Gabby, great job producing, and
Thank you.
Take it away.